Today we're going to go deep into Pluto. I'm going to talk to you about the different signs in Pluto. I'm going to start with Leo and I'm going to go all the way through Capricorn. I want you to see it in chronological order because it's important to see our collective soul's purpose and the evolution of generations and how we have metamorphosed over these Pluto generations. I hope you guys already watched my What Does Pluto Mean in the Chart, my Pluto Part 1. It is absolutely critical that you watch that video because I spend a long time going into the bowels of Pluto. Pluto is the place in your life that wants to be transformed, usually through crisis, trauma, torture, hardship. It brings in challenges that are pretty unbearable to face. Not everybody can even do their Pluto. Pluto is gory. Pluto is difficult. So with respect and compassion and empathy, I'm going to talk to you about the dark side. I'm going to talk to you about also some of the blessings with Pluto. I haven't found a video quite like this material that I'm going to give you today. I have found other Pluto videos. And by the way, Connie Joe over here at Soul Navigation, if after this video you would like more Pluto information, I thought her videos were absolutely fantastic. I'll put them in the notes section so you can click on them. You can just overdose on Pluto right here at Soul Navigation on our channel. But let's recall just a tiny bit of what we already know about Pluto. We know that it's a generational planet. Pluto in any sign is going to represent our collective soul purpose. And it's mostly in the unconscious. It's an unconscious process. It's not something that we're super aware of. It's just sort of like inside of us happening at that subconscious or unconscious level. It works also, you can see it show up as a whole movement of the masses of a whole generation. There is a compulsivity to Pluto, a habitual pattern that we develop. Our societal pressures cultivate this for our generation, or we collectively cultivate this way of being or this quality. We act it out individually and collectively. And you'll be able to see this in your peers, but I'm also going to talk about how it might actually show up inside of you, in you individually. Pluto provokes us to eventually grow, to change, but mostly it wants us to evolve. And it's painful work. It's painful work losing your, 100 legs and getting 2 wings to fly. It's not easy to do. And a lot of people can't even do their Pluto. When you do your Pluto right, or well, I should say, it's almost like all of society benefits collectively again, but also your life will greatly benefit. It's almost like you'll ascend to that next level if you can move through your Pluto and the pain that it brings through the growth that it encourages. I think Pluto by aspect and Pluto by house, you need to know your birth time to know the house that Pluto is in your chart. I think that is a larger statement than by sign, just to be quite honest with you. Pluto in aspect to the other planets in your chart is going to show you how it's operating. The sign is going to show you what the issue is, okay? But the placement, the house, is going to show you where in your life that's happening. So let's talk about Pluto in Leo. Now, I want you to watch each one of these signs because I'm pretty sure you've got somebody in your life who spans across all these different Pluto generations. So this is anybody born between 1938 and 1957. So think about your grandparents. And if you are a Pluto in Scorpio and your grandparent or your parent is a Pluto in Leo, there's automatically a power clash right there. There's automatically a Leo Scorpio in Pluto's "you don't get me." And there's already a rebellion set up. I want you guys to think about astrology in a larger context than just, I have Pluto in the second house in Leo. Think about if you are a Leo Pluto and you gave birth to a Pluto in Scorpio, what that's going to do to you. We'll stick through the end of this, and I want you to listen for your brothers, your sisters, your siblings, your cousins, your aunts, your uncles, your grandparents, your parents, because you're going to understand their obsessions, their compulsions, why they were so narrow compared to you. So let's talk about Pluto and Leo. This is anybody born between 1938 and 1957, and I'm going to tell you this is a collection of souls that incarnated on Earth to learn the lessons of creative self self-actualization. This is when music, if you want to look at music, just turned upside down and inside out. It's like the evolution of rock and roll, classic rock and roll. This is Elvis Presley and the Beatles. Music started to tour and started to go on stage and started to create the limelight. And this is when women were just like band crazy, boy crazy, right? And this is when we really stepped into idealizing Hollywood glamour. This is American culture. I wish I could speak on other cultures, but I do think American culture kind of reached out past our borders. So bear with me. I am American. It's the only culture that I know how to speak confidently about and feel like I really know what I'm talking about. The patriarchy, I should say, was idealized. Men ruled the roost. And women, 1938 to 1957, stayed home. They were subordinate to the men in their life. And you can really see the idealization of glamorous women or women that were polished, put together, had good manners, laid out a good dinner, a nice meal, knew how to cook, sew, clean, create a perfect house, to put the man on a pedestal. Look at some of the television shows that were, look at what they were named. Leave It to Beaver, Father Knows Best. You know, I didn't watch those, but those were of my parents' generations. You know, if you are a Pluto and Leo, there was probably a very dominant man in your life, for good or for bad. And the men in the world really ran the world at that time. They were really, really put on a pedestal and quite often not questioned, you know, not questioned for their morals. I want to tell you, a lot of people with Pluto and Leo, they had a lot of creativity inside of them, or they were born with a special sense of destiny, just like a Leo would. People with Pluto and Leo at their very best are generous. They are magnanimous. They are warm-hearted, and they are so enthusiastic about life and what life has to offer. But when these people are not self-actualized or underdeveloped, this placement comes with too much ego, too much arrogance, and too much pride, too much need for affirmation or adoration. You know, they called themselves the best generation. And these are baby boomers. The 1938, I think, is still the best generation. The baby boomers started right after that, the 40s and 50s. And I would say the baby boomers make up most of the Pluto in Leo generation. They were born between 1946 and 1964. Before 1946, they're considered the great generation or the best generation. You know, this was really kind of the Norman Rockwell days where he painted, you know, the perfect family. And they usually had the man at the head of the table. And there's very traditional, stereotypical roles, just like the king of the jungle and his pride. So in 1937, Pluto moved to 0 degrees Leo, and this started a new generation. These people were born with sort of an obsession towards charismatic becoming, and if you have this, becoming a charismatic leader. I guarantee you, in some way, shape, or form, this was the messaging that you got. You know, you need to lead, and there was an idealization of people stepping into their charismatic, powerful selves. Power was almost a necessity at this time, and being powerful and being strong and being mighty and being the best country. These people were taught to listen to your parents, be seen but not be heard. Again, father knows best. You can sit at the table, don't speak. It was kind of a demand or a command to respect their authorities without question. There's no questioning, right? And under this Leo in Pluto timeframe, people were sort of promised a new life. You know, they were coming out of the Great Depression, and they were promised a new and better, a shiny, a more glamorous, a better life for them and their family. They want to have created something for themselves, for their families, for the world at large that is considered truly great and magnificent. These people really believe life can be magnificent. They also believe that they were supposed to be magnificent. We'll know more about this placement through my next videos by aspect and by house. So if you do have Pluto in Leo, I do want to know which house do you have it in, and does it make aspect? Leo in Pluto people want to be noticed. They want to create a legacy, a destiny, a family that is noticeable, that is seen, that is heard, they want to become a self-expressed leader in their industry, in their work. They have a great deal of pride though, and that is their shadow side. Now, we're going to know more about your Pluto in Leo and how it functions by house and by aspect, but this is just going to give you a little taste of what you're dealing with. There's sort of this obsessive desire for greatness. There's this obsessive desire to be admired. This aspect in shadow side, when it doesn't develop, has a tremendous amount of pride, and it can experience setbacks around its own power. It can feel threatened, like it's never going to be anything great or good enough. That person could feel like they're not going to be in a leadership role. They could have learned their hard lessons by getting demotions or getting fired, which would be just terrible for a Pluto in Leo, falling down and not being able to get back up. That's a fear for Pluto in Leo. They have this great fear that their life may amount to nothing, or what they have inside may never come out, may never be seen, may never be cultivated, may never be valued. Pluto in Leo wants to be of great, tremendous, glorious, king-like value. As Stephen said in his book, Pluto in Leo wants to be king, wants to be the star. He said a lot of people are going to get their feelings hurt. They're not all stars. And we know that not everybody who auditions gets the part. On the shadow side, the Pluto in Leo can become just devastated if they don't make it, if they don't have a chance to express themselves in the world. It can be quite painful. They're also quite dictatorial, and they can be quite heavy-handed in their rules, their way, expecting you to conform to the way they have designed their world. So if you are the parent, these people will have quite an ideal or old-fashioned, if you will, concept of hierarchical order and obedience. So tell me if you have a Pluto in Leo parent or grandparent, and if you can see this, the expectations are high, and living up to those expectations can be daunting and intimidating. Also, tell me if your Pluto in Leo person is extraordinary. This is both of my parents, and I will tell you, both of them were extraordinary, absolutely extraordinary. My mom broke through glass ceilings, got her doctorate. My father worked for the United Nations. I felt growing up with both of them, and they both had Pluto in Leo, that I would never live up to their expectations or even just who they became in life. It left me feeling, as the child in that relationship for a very long time, insecure and in giant admiration. I just felt like I had two giant heroes in my life, and I didn't know how small little me was going to ever be able to measure up or live up. It's quite daunting being involved with a Pluto in Leo person, because they do come with an innate superstar status or a superstar desire. It is so devastating, and I have seen this too, when the Pluto in Leo person sort of becomes the tragic fool in life, right? Never allows themselves to cultivate their artistic gifts or their gifts, or lives a life where the music died inside of themselves and they never got to get it out. It is crushing, because you see a person with a massive ego, pride, right? Pride and kind of protective in a way. These people care about their families so much. And when their life is deemed a failure in their eyes or other people's eyes, it's almost unbearable. The devastation just does them in. It feels like hell, just hell. It's quite sad. Pluto in Virgo is really, really interesting. And this is anybody born between 1956 and 1972 for the most part. I want to tell you, these people were born to change the world. And that's because for most of that era, we have to also look at Uranus, because Pluto and Uranus were in a tight conjunction for most of that time. So these Pluto people at this time, so if you're going back hundreds of years, it might not be the case. The Pluto in Virgo people that you know probably have Uranus in tight conjunction to their Pluto. And so they're Pluto-Uranians. So I'm going to speak to that, okay? I'm not going to just speak to pure Pluto in Virgo. Say that 3 times. These people are the Gen Xers. This is my generation. These people could not handle or stand the baby boomer concept of the rigid patriarchal hierarchical order that the Leo kingdom, right, created for them. And they were like, no, we need to bust out of this. We had a lot of angst and a lot of rebellion. They took everything. They took that self-expression and that creative thinking and that leadership and that power that the Leo in Pluto generation created. They brought it into the world and they redesigned it in the most radical of ways. They took on protests and riots. They took to the streets. They weren't having it. They did not want to follow the order, if you will, that was being handed down. So they wanted to like smash that to smithereens, like Kurt Cobain's music, Nirvana. This generation came here to challenge the system. Now you're thinking about Virgo, right? You're thinking, now how can Virgo do this? Virgo is about improving systems and structures. And so they took on every aspect of society, the earth, psychology, gender, women going back to work. They didn't want to follow the order, if you will, because they wanted more for themselves. So when you meet somebody who has a Pluto in Virgo, there's a dissatisfaction with life or with themselves or with the system or with the family, because they are the critic. They're very discerning. They can see what is wrong with this situation. And this is Gen X. They will fight for making it right. And so they're loud. This is the generation of the great protesters. And that's because Virgo is in constant questioning. Virgo is very skeptical and they want to understand the facts and the truth. They don't want the fairy tale. They don't just believe in the glitz and the glamour and we're the best because we say we're the best. No, we need to be the best. These are also workaholics. So if you have Pluto in Virgo, I bet you anything you're a workaholic. And, you know, Pluto in Leos before them did create glamour and the beautiful and sort of innocent life of Leave It to Beaver, where there was a lot of idealization. But Pluto and Virgos didn't buy it. You know, we were sitting at home with our latchkeys wondering, is this really the life? Oh my God. My parents like left me home alone at 3 o'clock in the afternoon after school to eat a bowl of Cheerios and this is it, and a television. Reality, they knew that reality was much harder than what was being sold to them from the generation before. If you have your Pluto in Virgo, you are keenly aware of what is missing in your life, in your body, in your mind, what your shortcomings are, what their shortcomings are, what your community's shortcomings are, what your neighborhood shortcomings are, what society's shortcomings are, what other countries' shortcomings are, what your country's shortcomings are, what the world's shortcomings are. You see the world in its shortcomings. And so there is an obsessive, compulsive need to change, to fix, to improve, to heal, to make the world or yourself or other people or animals, whatever your passion is, better. I want to say, if you have Pluto and Virgo like me, you're a little bit neurotic around the things that are not working properly. And look at it in your life. One of my friends who has Pluto and Virgo on his sun is constantly taking his car apart and rebuilding it for a better engine. That is Pluto and Virgo. That's how it can show up. In my line of work, I like to help make people better. I like to improve their whole life, right? Pluto in Virgo is not opposed to getting their hands dirty. They will get their hands dirty. These are the people that will work on their mission of improvement, whatever it is. It can be medicine, science, psychology, the human being, the earth. It can be whatever. They will work on it obsessively. They oftentimes had to grow up too fast. And like I said, they were latchkey kids. They were left alone. Oftentimes a Pluto and Virgo had to take care of their siblings, definitely take care of themselves, and sometimes even take care of the parent. You know, this was the first computer age. This is when technology really did emerge for the first time. And we became fascinated with technology. So we started to really get a little bit fixated, right? Like in my era, video games, Atari and not quite PlayStation yet, but Atari and Pac-Man and video games down at the pizza parlor were really big. So we moved away from pinball and into like technology. Now we are advancing, right? So quick and so fast, just like a good Virgo. It's like we're advancing and we're getting more and more tools to be inspired to improve everything from politics, technology, relationships, our beliefs, our science, our world, our earth, mental wellness, our mental health, our sexuality, our physicality, our financial health and wellness, right? So if you have this placement, or if you are a person, you probably have this deep obsession to improve everything, yourself, others, life, the world. Now we'll know more about what you really do want to improve and what's probably going to torment you. You know, what's going to set you back in your life in order to improve it. And that's going to show up by house. You're probably going to have a massive setback with whatever house you have this placement in. You can't improve anything if it's perfect. There's nothing to improve. Wherever Pluto in Virgo is in your chart, this piece of you or this part of your life probably became toxic or tormenting or broken or suffocating. The structure probably collapsed on you. This is the critical generation. So if you have a parent, I want you to look, does your parent or your grandparent have Pluto in Virgo? And they're probably critical. You probably will say, yeah, she or he's kind of judgmental. They're kind of critical. They have these thoughts or beliefs that they think are making things so much better, but they're not, right? I'm not saying that the Pluto and Virgo person actually knows what's best. They just think they know what's best. They just think they know how to improve the situation. They might not have the actual knowledge. So I'm not saying that their way is the right way. I'm just saying they have an angst and a discontentment because Uranus is there too. And that is also about the rebel. These are the rebels because they're not going to just be spoon-fed, fairy tale. Pluto and Virgo are critical of the generation before them, and they're also critical of the generations after them because they believe, they can see what went wrong with both of them. And that's why Gen Xers are really proud of themselves. If you ever talk to them, my daughter is always saying, yeah, Mom, you're always saying Gen Xers are the best. I'm like, well, that's because we are. Don't hate me. I know I didn't have very many Pluto and Virgos. I mostly have Pluto in Scorpios, but listen to this. If you're a Pluto in Scorpio, you probably get along with your Pluto and Virgo person. And you probably do appreciate their ability for discernment. But I'll tell you, there's a lot of anxiety with a Pluto in Virgo person. And tell me if you do suffer a little bit from discontentment and from constantly wanting to improve, like in your partnership. Like, are they just going to stay this way forever? Or are they going to fix themselves, right? That's a common sentence for Pluto and Virgo. There's also sort of a deep personalization where Pluto and Virgos can see their own flaws too. And they have a lot of neurotic, obsessive, controlling issues even with themselves. And so there's a little bit of a radical rebel in these people. And there's also an uptight, right? They can feel so judgmental and critical like barbed wire. This generation created so much massive change. So much change came between those years, and the breakthroughs that they created hopefully will benefit the generations to come. So there's a lot of good things that come out of Pluto and Virgo, and that's because they're kind of never satisfied. They always want that next thing. And when they get that next thing and that next thing is improved, they don't relax. They go on to the next thing and the next and the next, and it's endless. So they can exhaust themselves. There's an ability to create massive change. And there's also a little bit of a fearlessness with this placement because they're not afraid to break down old-fashioned structures that stifle other people. The Pluto in Leo generation really wanted to make their parents happy. They did not want to dishonor their family's name. The Pluto in Virgo person has a concept of self-actualization inside of them, like what perfection looks like, and perfection equals contentment. That's a lie, by the way. And if you guys are a Virgo or have this placement, please go watch my whole Virgo playlist because Virgos are tortured with the concept of perfectionism. And if you have Pluto in Virgo, you probably can really relate to this. And so they have this ideal inside of themselves, what they want for their life. They get paralyzed around not feeling good enough because they're aware of what's broken, what's not working, what's not good enough. It can kind of become a self-fulfilling prophecy because sometimes Pluto and Virgo won't even try if they feel like they can't be good enough, if they can't make it, or if they're not going to be perfect, or if they're not going to do something really well. And so then they don't even try at all. This is the shadow side of Pluto and Virgo when they're not in their risk-taking mode to improve things. They can be daunted by what needs to be done, and the anxiety can overtake them. And so they can end up being in a paralysis of sorts, not even trying out for the school play because they know they won't get the part. That's metaphoric, by the way. So what's the school play in your story? Pluto in Virgo? What did you want to do that you felt you weren't going to be good enough doing, so you never did it, so it got buried, right? And it died inside of you. That is heartbreaking. That is heartbreaking. Try that thought on. And so if your parent is a Pluto in Virgo, talk to them about it. Like, Mom, Dad, what dream died inside of you that you never took on because you didn't think you could do it, that you had to sacrifice? There's a lot of guilt and private shame inside of the Pluto in Virgo. The Pluto in Leo doesn't have that same kind of guilt and shame. And that's from feeling deeply flawed. There's a humility in that too. And so there's a lot of broken people. I guess in every generation, there's a lot of sadness in a Pluto in Virgo person when they didn't try out of fear of failure. And they feared the failure within themselves. It didn't come from the patriarchy. It came from, I disappoint myself because I'm not good enough to do this thing that I really want to do. So therefore, I do nothing. That's Pluto in Virgo. Let's talk about Pluto in Libra, and this is 1971 to 84. Pluto in Libra are the great negotiators, but they are the bridge between opposing sides. And I know we think of peace and balance and harmony and tranquility, and if you have this placement, please do yourself a favor and watch my Libra playlist. Watch my Libra Rising, Libra Moon, Libra in Love. Please, please do, because I give so many secrets away in my Libra videos, and I go really deep into Libra. And I was so tired of everybody just seeing Libra in such superficial answers. So I really want you to see the deep side of Libra. They are so intuitive and amazing and vastly misunderstood. People think, oh, this is the sign of balance and they're so tranquil and no. I'm just going to say no. I want you to think of Pluto in Libra people as a broker, brokering a deal between opposing forces. And it's not always pleasant, and what that would look like. Think of two opposites, maybe a mom and a dad that are divorced, and I'm the child, and I need to make my mom feel good when I'm with her and make my dad feel good when I'm with him, and not speak to my dad about my mom and not speak to my mom about my dad. Right? And think of the stomach ache that creates, right? The turmoil, the torture of that, the bridge between two opposing forces. Just look at our world right now. And how would you like to, if you were an American politician, how would you like to broker a deal between Republicans and Democrats? Yeah, how fun is that? Not. Not. How peaceful is that? Not. How in balance is that? Not, right? Bringing two extreme sides together. And quite frankly, this is torturous for the Pluto in Libra. This is somebody who is trying to bridge worlds or concepts or beliefs, like I mentioned, like liberalism and conservatism, and finding a middle ground between them. This is a person who would negotiate a black world versus a white world, metaphorically. And how comfortable would that be? Yeah, I think I'd rather, suck on a grenade. I mean, it's like the volatility in that is painful. I don't know how you come out alive, especially now because we're so polarized. So these Pluto and Libra people they probably can't even watch the news right now. Think of indigenous person or the native person and the immigrant, trying to bridge those two worlds together. Think of the skinny person and the fat person. This person, this Libra and Pluto, I'm telling you, is living in a very polarized life, and it is tormenting. And they just want to run away from it, but they're there to find the medium. They're there to find the constructive qualities of both. I don't know. I wouldn't want that job. I wouldn't be good at that job, I don't think. I would try. It gives me a stomachache just to even think of. You're born with the chart you're supposed to have. There's no good chart. There's no easy Pluto. Pluto in Virgo, I think a Pluto in Libra doesn't want to be a Pluto in Virgo either. That's not easy either. I just want you to think about these polarizing opposites that we're living in right now. Pro-choice, pro-life, to kneel, to not kneel, right? To have guns, to not have guns. It just goes on and on and on. And if you have this placement, you are this bridge, you are this great negotiator, whether you know it or not. The last thing you really are is peaceful. There's a neuroses, there's a toxicity, there is a torture actually in being peaceful, because it means you're checked out. It means you're not really doing your life purpose. You're just burying your head in the sand. And I don't blame you, but you will feel the torment of that. And these people collectively have this transformative mission to move us collectively past our differences and broker deals for us to get along with each other, to find the middle ground and to teach us the art of compromise and to create justice for all, to create equilibrium, to create fairness and equality. And the job can seem so large and so daunting that it requires a total fight, which, by the way, Libra does not do, nor does it want to do. And so Libra can become really overwhelmed with this impossible job. So where inside of you are you in conflict? Do you believe both the left and the right? So it leaves you paralyzed. Do you believe in both the black and the white? So it leaves you paralyzed. Where do you have polar opposite beliefs or ideas? Let's say you're an introvert living in an extroverted family, or you're an extrovert and you're living alone and isolated. You're built for partnership, but you don't have one. Where are you polarized? Because it is in this polarization, it is in this opposite that will feel like the torment in your life. Finding compromise and contentment is critical to your well-being. That's how you're going to do your Pluto. And I know it might feel overwhelming and impossible, but you are going to be a person who will need to rewrite the script. And you might even contribute at an unconscious level collectively with rewriting what is socially appropriate and changing out customs and cultures and social norms, changing them out to create more acceptance for other people that have been overlooked. You might be an advocate for Indigenous people, trying to give them a voice again, a voice that was once taken away, because it's not right, it's not fair, and it's not just. Are you a Pluto in Libra, and can you relate to this? And are you a Pluto in Libra, and are you a moderate? Were you once a Democrat, now a Republican, or once a liberal, now a conservative, and now you're a purple, a moderate? Tell me. I'm very curious about this. And this is a shorter generation, if you notice. Pluto in Libra is a shorter amount of time than the others. So I'm really interested in this smaller generation, this smaller slice of the pie. And the chances are that you've been in a battle of oppositions within yourself, within your family, within your culture, within your society, within your life. I also want to tell you that you have a relationship with beauty, peace, love, art, and harmony. And that is going to be a massive, massive part of your power. Like Virgo is here with the power to discern, the power to discriminate, if you will, meaning knowing the difference between good and great, having the power to radically, massively change. Leo has this charismatic leadership, empowerment, becoming the best, right? Self-actualizing. And Libra has this power for peace. It might be the last thing that you get, but you might live and die trying to create the peace within your family. Look at these people that have this placement. I found this interesting. So these are the great, peacemakers, Pluto and Libra, who actually have really no peace at all. Right? Heath Ledger, died trying. Prince William, he's estranged from his beloved brother now after having lost his mom. There's no peace there. There is no peace in being Prince William. None. I don't think he lives a life of tranquility. Angelina Jolie, oh my gosh, did you just read her last court battle with Brad? It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. It's just heinous. Their whole life is just one battle after another and all this conflict, which I don't believe would have to be. I don't think Brad really wants that. That's just my opinion. And Angelina's the peacemaker. She's actually the ambassador of something or other. And Britney Spears, there's no peace there, right? I want you guys to look at the irony of Pluto. It's like Pluto and Virgo, they're here to improve things, but did they just actually wreck things instead? Yeah. Pluto and Leo, they came here to create this greatness, but did they just create patriarchal arrogance instead? Yeah. Pluto and Libra, they came here as, peacemakers to create this peace and this harmony. And yet they really just live in disruption. Yeah, it's always ironic. I'm telling you right now, you will always find the truth. The deepest truth lives in irony. And that is Pluto. Pluto is the most powerful place of change in your chart. And it is so important that you get your relationship right with Pluto. It's so important. Now, if you're a Pluto in Libra, you probably have an affinity for the decisiveness and the leadership and the confidence of your Pluto in Leo person, parent or grandparent. So my younger brother is a Pluto in Libra, and our parent is the Pluto in Leo. And so there is an adoration and there is an appreciation for that leadership. And there's even in him an appreciation for the patriarchy, the matriarchy too. He appreciates patriarchy too, because the Libra and the Leo are in harmony, right? Are you guys with me? Because I want you to see which generations are going to be easier for you to deal with and which ones are going to make you go, oh God, yeah. Also, if you want to support the channel, please hit the subscribe button, because I'm trying to get to 100,000 subscribers by December. Now listen to me. Right now, sitting here right now, I have just a little more than 55,000 subscribers. If each one of you told one friend, just one friend in your life, to subscribe to my channel, I would get to 100,000 subscribers. And the reason why I want to do that is I want people to have access to the deeper layers, the deeper truth of astrology. I did a reading today. I didn't even talk about the person's sun sign. Not that it didn't matter, but there were other elements in her chart that were the real drivers. And I wanted her to know what those hidden drivers were. And if you study astrology with me, you will learn about all those layers. And I have to tell you, if you love this work, if you love doing this work, if you love this content, go to soulnavigation.com and click on the Learn Astrology button and go look at the 2 masterclasses. I'm loading more there. Go look at the masterclasses that I offer and go deep, 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 deep. I give you all my techniques in those classes. They are just so exciting. And I know they will blow your mind, because you just don't see astrology like this out there on the internet. It's really hard to find. Anyways, I want to go back to Libra, Pluto and Libra, just for a moment, because I want to say that there's another side to Pluto and Libra. And I want to say this with love and compassion. And this might not affect everybody. It depends where Libra, Pluto and Libra is in your chart. And it also depends what aspect Pluto makes to other planets. But there is a tendency here to overattach to others, overattach to other people's opinion of you, love of you, adoration of you, and to be in sort of a chronic, compelling, obsessive way with needing approval of others. And if others don't approve of you, it can be quite catastrophic in your life. And I am sure there is not a Libra in Pluto in Libra, I should say, that hasn't experienced this, just because relationships are the core obsession that they have. Now, I talked about harmony and balance, but what I want to say is that Pluto in Libra is the most likely sign to become codependent on their partners. They need a partner, first of all. They have a hard time being alone. They have huge and enormous abandonment issues. Is this your downfall? Is this your challenge? Is this your Achilles heel? Do you have Pluto in Libra, and are you afraid of being alone, being abandoned, not being loved, not being adored, not having a partner, not finding worthy love, not finding contentment in love? And do you give your power away more than you should? Are you the nice guy in a way? If you're not yet 36 years old, you probably do this. And if you are 36 years old, you're on the healing end of this. So you might say, yeah, my younger self, gave my power away, or tried too hard, or loved too hard, or loved too much, or depended on my partner too much. But now that I'm over 36, I don't do that anymore, because 36 is sort of the coming of age. That's my opinion. Not every astrologer believes that, but in astrology, I see 36 years old as the coming of age year in astrology, when you really can step into your own power. There will be a death and a rebirth for Pluto in Libras around relationships, losing a relationship that they are holding on too tightly to, or losing a relationship by unrequited love. They picked an unavailable partner, or losing a relationship because they were too dependent, or losing a relationship because they created the dependency in the other person. Pluto in Libra is here to transform their lives through connection, through love, through relationships, through soulmates, through partnerships. So if you are a Pluto in Libra, I do want to know, have you struggled in partnerships? And if so, I want to say good for you, because this is your karmic lesson unfolding before your very eyes. And you also are here to teach us collectively about relationships, about oppositions, about the art of compromise, about love. You guys make great therapists too. Great confidants, great therapists. Okay, let's talk about Scorpio. Okay, so Pluto in Scorpio. Well, Pluto is very at home in the sign of Scorpio, but I will tell you, this is a very difficult, painful, and I would say extraordinarily hard placement, even though it enjoys being here and it is quite honestly at home. It doesn't make the work easier, right? So let me just explain this to you. This is if you were born between 1983 and 1995. And I have two of my very favorite people in with this, my little brother and my little sister. And I've seen firsthand what I'm about to talk about. So this is a generation that is coming of age at a time when I think our culture in the United States and even across the globe, truthfully, I've seen this in Europe, Africa, South America, and Asia, where we're destroying ourselves. This is the first generation really born when, in a time when they're old enough now to see the destruction and the decay of mankind, to see the collapse of our institutions, of our policies, to see the fraudulence and to expose the fraudulence inside the insurance industry, the pharmaceutical industry, the political circus, the media, right? All of it, science, medicine. I think it's this generation, along with their Gen X counterparts, because they create a sextile. I think those two generations combined are kind of a lethal weapon right now, in the sense of their Pluto and Scorpio are made strong, tenacious, they're unafraid, they won't back off. And yet I think that a lot of these people on an individual level have experienced their own self-annihilation, their own death, metaphoric or physical, and that they have, through the corruption inside these systems, jails, prisons, the justice system, the science, it's almost like in medicine, they don't want us to get well, they want us to get addicted, right? We're seeing a generation that wants to confront the lies and wants to expose the truth. And it's out of seeing this loss of power for themselves, for their parents, and for their siblings and younger generations. There's a real loss of power at this time, 83 to 95. Pluto and Scorpio will confront death head on. They will also redefine death too. What does death mean? This is the sign that will experience sort of going to hell and back on a personal level. If you do have this placement, tell me if you have experienced a deep, personal, toxic hell, or a self-annihilation, or where your life was just destroyed or tried to be destroyed by someone else. And hopefully, if you've done the work of Pluto, you will bounce back. You will reinvent yourself. You will be recreated. You will be reborn. You will be rebirthed. But this can also be a generation that has a higher suicide rate. I haven't looked at that statistically. I'm just looking at it astrologically. But there's a lot of desire for sort of a ego melt, or a spiritual death. Many people of this generation will experience spiritual deaths. And in that, they'll step into their higher wisdom and this courage and this soul's fearlessness. This is also a generation that will really struggle with addiction. They will also be really open to the psychic powers. I appreciate this generation so much because they really helped me as a Pluto and Virgo step into this higher self, and they had open arms for me. This is a collection of souls that ascended on Earth with a drive to live not from the material world, not in the glamour, not in the glitz, but from the authentic soul and from truth. And they will help us transform our world, freeing us from the superficial. That's why they're in square to the baby boomers' idyllic patriarchal world, right? Of Hollywood glamour and glitz selling us a bill of goods of the ideal. The Pluto and Scorpios are like, we're done with the superficial. We want real, a lot like Virgo did. You're going to see that conspiracy stories start with this generation. And maybe they already were in existence, but this is the generation that discovered them and brought them out into the light. You'll also see a new kind of angst in the art, in the music, in the artistic expression of this generation. Like, we're going to get really real. The cutting edge Broadway musical Rent kind of summed up everything I'm talking about. It was so gritty. It was so raw. It was so provocative. It was so unlike anything else that had ever been done. The musicals before that were always idealistic and about the perfect story and the perfect love. Oh God, if you've never seen Rent, go see it, because it took place during this generation, and it was a time of just gritty truth about homosexuality and about sexuality. I also want to talk about, this is when the Aids epidemic was rampant. I don't know if you guys are old enough, but it was a real deal. It was a lot. It was treated a lot like COVID. People were afraid of other people. People ostracized, mostly gay men. They were really ostracized. They were, quote, scary because of AIDS. And so it created this great taboo around sexuality. And if you were gay, it was as if at that time during the AIDS epidemic, you were treated like a leper. Nobody wanted to be around you. It was quite sad. And so I'm sure so many people at that time, experienced that ego death, right? Where they had to, at all costs, be authentic and truthful and real. It was very sad. I had a lot of gay friends. I majored in drama and in theater, and so this was my group of friends. And people were telling me to stay away, and I didn't. I was a Virgo in Pluto, conjunct Uranus. So Gen Xer, right? I believed in helping. I wanted to make things better. Pluto and Scorpios kind of got along with the Gen Xers, right? Because they're Pluto and Virgo. That's that sextile. With the Pluto in Scorpios between 89 and 90, if you were born between 89 and 1990, you had Saturn and Uranus and Neptune conjunct in Capricorn, which made the sextile to Pluto in Scorpio, which just creates such a drive, such power players, such hard working, focused, highly dedicated, highly focused, self-sacrificing. These people have just a resilience. They probably will go into medicine or science or money management. They'll be great money managers. They are a transformational maverick. So these are the people that can really rewrite history as we know it, and they can even tap into a deeper wisdom because of that great conjunction. And they may even have helped me. I don't know if you guys know my personal story, but I started my work in as early as 1998, but I was fascinated with it back in 1991. It's maybe this generation, and it's so funny because when I did my poll on my community page, I have more Pluto and Scorpios than any other Pluto placement. And I think it's this generation that made astrology and the psychic world and Reiki and acupuncture and naturopathy medicine said it's okay to be a psychic. It's okay to be clairvoyant. It's okay to be a medium. And I hid that for 14 years. And I had a burgeoning practice. I just didn't ever advertise. I didn't have a website, and it was all word of mouth. I was busy as can be at hello, but I did it all kind of from within the closet. But I think it's the Pluto and Scorpio people in generation that really made it okay and safe to be all that, to do that kind of work. And it created a new kind of psychological transformation for people. I also think they're the ones that say mental health problems are real, and let's acknowledge them, and let's get honest about them, and let's put them out front. I also think this is a time when self-cutting, self-annihilation, if you will, was a huge disease. So if you are a Pluto in Scorpio person on an individual level, you probably want more than anything to become awakened to the hidden truths, to the fake news, and you want to shine the light on the lies that have been fed to us at a societal level, and the lies within your own family, and the lies that were told to you. These are the people that if you were just supposed to be fed a bunch of lies within your family, but you know that somebody violated you, this is the person that wants to create reform and change around that wants to stop the trauma within their family. How How? By exposing it. So tell me if you can relate to this. If you have Pluto and Scorpio, can you relate to this sort of being your mission to create this exposure and this truth so you can have a deeper, more soulful experience with yourself and with your life? It's like you are no longer willing to buy into the illusions that either the people in your life or the world or the society or the community in your life wants you to believe in, right? It's like these people are like, no, it's not about the fairy tale anymore. It's not a Cinderella story. It's going to get more real than that. This is a generation, and in your own life at an individual level, you are capable of seeing and experiencing and witnessing and even dealing with the dark, the cold, ugly truth. You're going to be really an emotionally strong person too, able to handle a ton. You could probably work with the death and dying. You probably have experienced death, divorce, loss, destruction at a gargantuan level. And there's been trauma in your life on these subjects. You may have also felt such deep rejection, physically, sexually, financially, just as a human. You may have felt given up. You may have felt left or abandoned. These are people that have just such deep wounds, but to the degree that they are wounded is also to the degree that they can heal themselves and then others and then the world. This is a generation that is going to make the taboo, the weakness, if you will. I say weakness in air quotes because it's really quite a strength, okay to talk about. And okay to accept. It's okay to be gay. It's okay to have a mental health problem. It's okay to be even homeless. It's okay to be an addict. It's okay to be an alcoholic. There is a little bit of a, let's deal with this. Let's accept this at a deeper level. Like you're human. They see the humanness. They see the hardship in the humanness. And that is what makes them so actually refreshing, right? This generation will, like I said earlier, they'll put suicide, self-sabotage, and mental health at the forefront of life. And I think that's really true. There's a willingness with this generation to go deeper than any generation has ever gone before. And they're going to pass that down to the next generations. And the next generations are going to feel a great deal of comfort of being able to talk about things that their grandparents and maybe even their parents won't discuss. You're also going to see power plays. There's a lot of power with this placement. And so these people are either the bully or they've been bullied. And bullying is going to be a topic in their life where they either don't tolerate it or they are one and they don't know it. Usually I see that there's an intolerance for a bullying with this generation, which is quite lovely. But then you'll see on the other hand that it's through bullying, it's through having bullies that forces this generation to speak up, to reveal it, to expose it, to talk about it. So we'll see a great deal of bullying at this time, of putting other people down, trying to take their power away, trying to tell them they're bad, they're wrong, they're ugly, they're fat, they're whatever it is, in order for this generation to also awaken to how criminal that is, right? And to want to fix it, to want to reconstruct it in a new way that creates empowerment. I will tell you that this is a hard placement, so please leave your story if you feel comfortable sharing. I know everybody really benefits when you share your story, but these people usually have enormous wounds, enormous losses, and enormous setbacks to overcome. And in doing so, they actually become the phoenix that rises from the ash. There's a mystique to these people. There's a dark, poetic melancholy that lives within these souls. There's a stoicism. There's a guardedness. There's a protection. There's a, I can't reveal all to you unless I'm willing to be intimate with you and you me. I'll show you my vulnerability if you show me yours. This is also the generation that created, this is when Daniel Radcliffe was born. So here he is, Harry Potter was born. This is also Michael Phelps, the Olympian, the American Olympian who won the most Olympic medals out of any swimmer in the world so far, 2022. But look at the setbacks. He went through a deep self-deconstruction and sabotage, and he bounced back, which was really beautiful to see. So it's that phoenix rising from the ash. And also Adele is another one. And we've seen her transformation, which has just been breathtaking. And listen to her music. Find the Scorpio. I don't know if she's a Gemini or what, but you can see and feel the Scorpio, the Pluto and Scorpio in every song she sings, right? Also, Mark Zuckerberg, look at the power that he has. I want to say that this Pluto and Scorpio has the ability to become so financially powerful, and they can get people to invest in them financially. They can get angel investors. They are literally financial giants in the world, financial giants. And all those people I just mentioned are millionaires, billionaires, right? So much money. If you have Pluto and Scorpio, you have the ability to build wealth, grow wealth. People will invest in you, and then you will invest in you, and your money will just magnify. Okay, let's talk about Pluto in Sagittarius. Now, this is interesting. This is 1995 all the way to 2008. And Pluto in Sagittarius are souls that incarnated at the same time collectively to be more globally aware of others than anyone else living on the planet. They actually have a global vision. They care about the differences of other people's music, food, cultures, taste, right? If you are a Pluto in Sagittarius, you want to learn about life and the world and the truth of people. You want to understand different theologies, different ways of life, different social customs, different foods, different, you like diversity. And we will start to see interracial couples as completely normal. What I love about Pluto in Sagittarius is I want you to think of the Broadway musical Hamilton, and how, if you've seen, who here has seen Hamilton and what did you think of it? Here, you know, we are talking about the forefathers of the United States of America. And of course, all those men were white. And in Hamilton, they created cultural diversity. So George Washington was Chinese when I saw it. Thomas Jefferson was African and African American, and on and on. And Alexander Hamilton was Jewish. I loved it, or Spanish. Anyways, what I'm trying to say is you didn't even see race, religion, or color. You didn't see anything but the soul. And that is what made Hamilton, the play, so genius. That is Pluto in Sagittarius. And I love it. Now, these people have a great desire to become the guru in life. And what's interesting about this is these are the seekers, these are the questers, these are the people that are in quest of the Holy Grail, and they have an obsession to figure out I think the theological truths in life, like who is God? Why do I exist? The bigger picture questions in life. And they are the visionaries, and they want to try to pursue global truths, human truths. And in doing that, it's really hard to come to conclusive answers. And so what can happen in the shadow side is they can be in a perpetual searching, never satisfied. And they live also like Virgo, maybe because it's a mutable sign, with a great dissatisfaction. And they may even, in their shadow side, if they're undeveloped, they may even change out their belief systems over and over and over, chasing new rainbows, new theologies, new ideas, new visions. None of them seem to ever fill them up and completely satisfy them. They also, when they're undeveloped, they have a massive arrogance and a massive entitledness. And I will be honest with you about that. And then this is my child's generation. And so these people actually literally believe that money just poofs from the sky and grows on trees. And it's quite comical because these are not really the hard workers of the zodiac. These are the dreamers. And I think it's because they were born from Pluto in Virgos and Pluto in Libras. And so the Pluto and Virgos especially were workaholics, right? So it enabled this generation. This generation is most of the generations prior to this, including Scorpio and Virgo for sure. And even the Leos feel this generation is a little bit entitled. And that's because Jupiter, is the ruler of Sagittarius, and you put this in Pluto, and that's a whole lot of kingly power. That's like putting the crown on my head and crowning myself king. Yeah, it's kind of like King Henry VIII complex, where yes, I will play God. And they can preach and teach, and they can be blowhards. What I mean by blowhards is I talk with such a great wisdom, and I communicate with such power and such confidence and such ease of storytelling that I actually set myself up to be this guru. But when inside I haven't fleshed out my own belief system and my own truths, there may be more of a vacancy inside than I reveal. So I reveal as if I'm preaching, teaching this, pontificating this greatness, this vision, this truth, this, all this truth that I found in the world. But in all actuality, I may not be that well schooled or that well educated in it. I might be a blowhard. I might be developing a belief system earlier. Maybe it's been handed down to me, or maybe I found it, and maybe I live strongly and passionately by it, but I might not have the goods to totally back it up. Now, if I am developed, I will go get the education. I will go get the mentorship. I will do the hard work to be what I preach. I want you to push back, and I want you to test your Pluto and Sagittariuses around their belief systems, around, why do you believe that? How have you actually experienced that? I want you to test their hypotheses, because oftentimes the truths that they live by are just hypotheses. They're just trying them on, right? And they're still young. These people are still young. If this is you, Pluto and Sagittarius, there probably is an innate optimism about you. You probably feel like, hey, things will work out. Don't stress out too much. You probably are a future-oriented person that's always on the quest for tomorrow, tomorrow, tomorrow. But I do want to ask you, can you truly be satisfied? Can you be satisfied in your world, or do you always want more? There is a little bit of an obsession with gluttony, more, and more. And there is also a little bit of an obsession with taking the shortcut. Now, not everybody, but I'm just saying these people are going to also break up the old-fashioned ways of thinking, because they are future-based. And they're the philosophical thinkers and the visionaries that have so much passion, and they may even be bombastic or too loud or too willing to impose their beliefs on you. So this is the generation that is going to say, there's not just two genders, going to encourage us to move into they and them and see the world with a different truth. They're going to reshape, have an influence, and reshape our culture's belief system, what we believe in. They're going to reshape the concept of God. Who is God? Is God Buddha? Is God Jesus? Muhammad? Allah? Who is God? Is God spirit? Is God a source? Does God have a gender? Right? That is going to be Pluto and Sagittarius's job. They are also going to not really like the rules and regulations that the Pluto and Virgo, Pluto and Scorpio, and the Pluto and Leo have created. And they're going to want to have more freedoms around work, have more freedoms around marriage. You'll see that they are going to want to put freedom of choice into the institutions that really don't give us much choice. Leo's worked at the office 9 to 5. Now 2022, not so much. Sagittarius is going to be a little bit of a rebel when it comes to rules and regulations that stifle society, that put society into compartments. They don't like that. Also, I think you're going to see a globalist movement with Pluto and Sagittarius people. They want to cross-pollinate with different cultures. They want to open up borders. They want to have more society with open doors. Pluto and Sagittarius generation wants to try new music, new food, new fashion. They're going to be well-traveled. There is an open-mindedness with this group of people. So if this is you, you may be seen as somebody who is willing to take more risks than others, and a truth crusader, crusading for the meaning of life. There can be an obsession with this, and there can be a great dissatisfaction. And on the shadow side, these people can be so off-putting by being so bombastic and forcing their beliefs. And their beliefs are very interesting because they're usually more open, right? Their beliefs However, not necessarily, because they can be quite, remember, they are the king. So what they believe in, they feel is really accurate and really right. And so they can just shove that down your throat as if that is the truth that all people should live by. There is a self-righteousness and a patronizing way with these people. If you ever get mad at your Pluto and Sagittarius, they probably, when you're not liking them, they are probably snubbing you, looking down at you, patronizing you, and making you feel like your ideas are limited and limiting and small. Yeah, tell me if you can relate to that if you are Pluto and Sagittarius. Okay. Moving forward, I know I went a little bit faster with them, but we have to get through this video, and I love you guys here. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And also, if you want to learn with me, please go hit the Learn Astrology tab at soulnavigation.com and go buy my master classes. They are amazing, and I give you all my secrets in both of those classes. And if you want your chart, your deep dive natal report, or if you already understand astrology, get my Advanced Astro Gold Package. You will love it. It talks all about your progressions, and you will get your gorgeous progressed natal chart. And if you don't already have your gorgeous natal chart from me, you can get one on my shop tab at soulnavigation.com. Everything's in the notes below. If you want to support us here at Soul Navigation, we would love that. And I haven't even told you, if you're a super supporter or superstar super supporter, look for my members only videos, and I'm having a party and I hope you're coming to it. It is on August 5th, 2022. And you get to come for free. It's for all my members. So I want to say thank you for everybody who has joined my channel and has supported us. We love you, love you, love you. Okay, Pluto in Capricorn. Let's talk about it. Okay, so these are people born between 2008 and 2024. So it's pretty long. This is a pretty big generation again. These are very hardworking people that want to concretize the world. They want to put the theology of the generation before them, and the visions and, the storytelling and all of that into concrete, hard material results, if you will. Capricorns, I think, like Virgos, are the workaholics. And so they are very steadfast. But we're going to see that a patriarchal society or resurgence is going to emerge again. And we kind of are going back to that Leo, if you will, because Capricorn and Pluto is male dominated power, if you will. I think that the progress that women have made, they're going to have to stand up to the patriarchy, and they'll have an opportunity to really become equal, thanks to Libra's work, right? But women are going to have to really work hard during this time to, when I say take on the patriarchy, I mean just to reinforce the equality. So the opposite of Capricorn is Cancer, and Cancer is the mother and nurturing and love. And so this is kind of like hardcore times, if you will. This is a time when people can massively build wealth. And if you have this and you are a female, this is a time when you might be playing in a boys' club, if you will, at work, and you might be treated as an equal. You might be integrated with male power somehow. You might have male dominance in your life, but yet you are an equal to that. You might be the mother and the father to your child in a relationship. You might play the male role. These people are very hardworking. They are phenomenal with money. You will see that this is a generation that wants to work with money, change money, transform what the whole financial and banking system looks like, maybe even change what currency looks like. And we might also see that these people want to make meaning out of their life through financial success. Like now, money has become power. Money is of great concern for these people. Maybe it's because we head into a recession, or there once was excess and now there isn't. But this is a generation that wants to achieve pragmatic, realistic goals for themselves, their family, their life, and for society. They want to build an infrastructure that is efficient and that works and that produces good, long-lasting results that benefit society. These people also have a little bit of a cynicism where they feel a little bit unsafe. They're not the optimists of the Pluto in Sagittarius generation. They're kind of cynical. They kind of don't trust. Now here we are suffering with just scams everywhere you go. And this generation is probably going to shine the light on scams. This is a generation that wants to build security, security, and security. And this is also in your own life, if you have this is where you want to look at the failures in life, if you will, and you will want to remedy those failures, achieving great results and building more security. You're going to want to rebuild that which has failed before you. You know, everything that is sort of pie in the sky. Capricorn wants to either do away with that or make it really real. Turn the dream into reality. So like this new currency called Bitcoin, right? Let's make it really real. How can we make this fantasy thing, right, into a reality that becomes high functioning and maybe the highest functioning currency for people and a safe currency? They want to make the world a better place pragmatically, realistically, and truthfully. Like if I can touch it, then it is so. They don't want to live in the imagination or in the fairy tale of the world. They want the thing to work. And if you are this person, you might feel, I don't know, a victim to all that is broken, all that needs reworking. You might feel like the weight of the world is on your shoulders inside your marriage or your family or with your children, that you have to take care of everything. You might feel like you're the one that has the solutions and the pragmatic answers to all things. You might have to, heal the woes of your world, of yourself and of your family. You might also be really obsessed with obtaining so much security that you miss out on the joys of life. And you can be quite obsessive around success, becoming respected, renowned. If you're a writer, then you want to be a published author, so leveling up and becoming your greatest achievement becomes your biggest thirst. And there's a cost for that. It costs you, well, the Cancer side of life, the nurturing, loving, slow down moments where I can just hold you and I can dream with you, right? No. Capricorn, Pluto in Capricorn is obsessed with all the parts of society that are inefficient and not working properly or well. And so they have a big meaning and value and purpose in this life. And also these people feel sort of an inner strength to be able to, they actually believe I'll be able to handle whatever is thrown my way. And then they kind of like to prove it, right? They are not weak. So they take on way more than they should. And ironically, it breaks them down. If you're involved with a Pluto and Capricorn person, I know they're young right now, but you will see this play out. They get exhausted and they become victims to the broken system, being the only one capable of remedying and solving the problems and leading us into this newfound, more efficient way of being, right? And they feel like if they're not leading it, if they're not creating it, if they're not the ones doing it, if they're not the ones taking it on, then either A, it won't get done, or B, it won't get done right. Can you relate to that? Pluto and Capricorn, can you relate? So they become responsible for everyone in their life. And they get absolutely, utterly exhausted by it. Pluto and Scorpio and Pluto and Capricorn kind of get along with each other. They kind of get each other. So it's almost like Pluto and Scorpio revealed these truths of our own decimation, our own destruction, our own problems, our psychological problems, our financial problems, broken systems, broken structures, how we're polluting our earth. And Capricorn, then Sagittarius, I should say, gave us sort of a resurgence of hope and maybe a newfound faith in a belief system and maybe more of a global acceptance of all people. And Capricorn are, I guess, the generation, are the people of the generation that make shit happen, right? So they take the faith and they take maybe the Pluto Scorpio's truths that they found and they do something with it. They actually mechanically build the systems and the structures to become highly efficient, to put into pragmatic terms, basically to walk their talk. They like Pluto's work and they like Virgo's work too. The earth signs like water. But I will say that they can become such phenomenal leaders that they become tyrannical. They become so stubbornly in their efficient control of systems and process and procedures that they miss out on the joys of life. And that's their shadow side, where they become too obsessed with the system and they sort of miss the point of it, right? Like they become so obsessed with building the perfect ecological home, green home, that they forget that, oh, I'm doing this for my loved ones, for us to find joy in the home. They just want to build that home, and they can get so focused on just the task at hand that really the sweet stuff has been sucked out of life for them. And then, ironically, they become a victim to the very thing they want to be, the leader, the militant leader with the control, the power, the rules, the regulations, right? The boss, the boss dog, the dad, the power. Yeah. And then it's like they're exhausted by all that. But wait a minute, you wanted that. You wanted that power. You wanted that control. You wanted to implement that highly efficient, highly well-oiled machine, and you're getting what you want. Oh, what? You're starved emotionally? You don't feel loved? You don't feel connected to? You don't feel like anybody likes you? Oh, wow. Yeah. And that is Pluto in Capricorn's problem. Yeah, that's their challenge, and that's their shadow side. So that's Leo through Capricorn, and you can kind of see the generations before you and the generations after you, and how these generations kind of clean up the mess, or they expand upon the new discoveries and the truths and the metamorphoses of the generation before them. Hopefully improving life with every single generation in every single year. I would like to believe that we become more loving and accepting of all people, building an ecosystem that will nurture and nourish and comfort and take care of every person on the planet. That's my hope. I hope you like this video. It's pretty deep. I could have gotten a lot deeper on each of the signs, but I hope this gave you a little bit of a new insight into each of the Pluto signs. And next, we're going to do them by house and then by aspect. This is kind of broad. It gets more narrow and it gets more personal when we talk about what house does Pluto fall in your chart. Tell me. And I want to know, other than yourself, whose chart have you seen? And you can see how the descriptions that I gave you today resonate with their Pluto sign. Your mom, your dad, your grandma, your sister. Tell me. I want to know if you can relate to this. Oh, and ask one person, would you, to subscribe to my channel so we can get to 100,000 subscribers by the end of 2022. And I would absolutely love it if you would join our channel and come learn deeper astrology with me, with all your benefits and perks and free videos and free members only parties. I'll put the link in the notes below. And from my house here in Seattle to wherever you're at in the world, thank you for being with me. And I can't wait to talk to you more about Pluto. Check out our other Pluto videos by Connie Jo and myself right here at Soul Navigation. Take good care. Bye.